Hello, everyone. It is Joe. What I'm thinking about today and for the last couple of days is really giving me some peace. I'm thinking about, how do you say it? The presence. The thing which is consistent throughout our lifetime. Not our experiences, not the play that, you know, happens in front of our eyes. That changes. But there's something which remains the same. There's something that's the same within us when we are happy or when we are sad, when we are feeling free or trapped, when we are feeling inspired or bored. In all circumstances, there's something which is the same, something which is us. If something of us continues after death, it won't be our bodies. We can see that they decay. Every object in our world will eventually decay, even inanimate ones. Place a video camera on a stone, for a few hundred years and see it slowly erode. Maybe a few million years. But everything changes. Some things, like stone and metal and, uranium, which gives off energy for a long time. Some things decay very slowly, other things decay very quickly. Such as, our bodies, once we die and stop renewing them from inside, they stop pretty quickly. Mainly because all the other creatures want those resources. We are, in a sense, a collection of some very rare resources. Living creatures that consume other living creatures. So we are, a collection only of living material that we've consumed from other creatures, and then they've consumed it from each other or from the ground. So we're at the top of the pyramid in that sense, of resources that have been gathered by others, that have been gathered by others, that have been gathered by others. And those resources are very valuable, and as soon as we stop protecting ourselves from creatures, large and small, from bears and from bacteria, we fade away. Little remains of us but our bones, and even those, fade away over time. So, in the short time that we have in life, we can have experiences. But they aren't us. The experience I'm having right now of talking to this video, it is just an experience. A shadow of it goes into my memory after I have it, but it doesn't last. Whenever I have a sensation or a feeling within my body, it isn't real, it doesn't last. What's interesting to me, though, about impermanence and about what of us might be permanent, what's interesting to me about this discussion is parts of myself that I feel to be more permanent. When I have an emotion, I don't wallow in it. I stay in the part of myself that is always here, that is always myself. A part of me that feels more permanent, at least, And some people believe in a soul that goes on after death. Some people believe in a permanent part of us that perhaps can learn and grow things that we like to do here in life, but can learn and grow, have experiences after life. Who knows? Who knows what happens after life? All of us will find out whether anything happens and what it is after life. But we're all very concerned with it now because we've been made to fear it. Ultimately, we'll all find out. And if we are to be judged, faking it to avoid judgment, is it going to fool a good judge? So if there is some kind of judgment in there, it is only what is in our heart. It is only what is in our soul, whatever part of us may last after this life, that's genuine, that we can be judged on. We can't fake out the kind of a, immortal, omnipotent, omniscient kind of judge figure that knows us and places us where we belong or where we deserve. So all those ideas are really silly. We don't know what happens after death, just like we don't know the scientific discoveries of physics about the nature of the universe that we will discover in 300 years. None of us will ever know. There are things, fascinating things to be discovered that change how we look at everyday life. But we don't know what they are. People 300 years from now will look back and say, wow, how did they live not knowing that? Just like we wonder, gosh, how would we get by 300 years ago without the internet or electricity even? How would we live? So there are lots of things that we don't know and can't know. And in those places live our imagination. We can imagine what it would be like to live 300 years ago. They can imagine what it would be like to live now. We can imagine the future. All that stuff. But ultimately, what's of value to me is what makes my life better right now. And that is this idea that there's a part of me which isn't my body, but is connected to my body. I don't know if we have souls. That's just an idea. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Maybe there's a part of us that feels permanent as we live in these bodies, but isn't. And then when we die, nothing happens. Okay. If nothing happens when we die, okay. I won't have a mind and a heart to feel good or bad about that idea. So who cares, right? What really matters is right now. And I'm not going to get the word right. It's not atavists. It's anitavists. It's a Indian name that I'm not familiar with, so I have to give it some more thought. But I've been reading a little bit about people who believe or study this idea of experience and the self in Hindu literature. I think I understood most of it, maybe 80-90% of it. Few words I had to look up and a few ideas that were new to me, structures and words that were, new to me. Certain language traditions, like the beingness. When people put ness after some word, or a number of hyphens with that intent to describe something in words that they would much rather describe verbally, that can be confusing for me. That being said, I think I understood most of it, and maybe I'll dig in more. Who knows? But it was interesting to read about people who were separating the experiences themselves, which only exist in the moment they're being experienced. And like I said, it exists as a shadow in memory. But those experiences aren't real, you know. The people who have those experiences are real in one sense, but not in another. What part of us is having the experience? That, as these people say, nativists, I think, that part of us is consciousness, is us. That which is having the experience. And that to us, I think, is the most valuable part of us. We see it as ourselves. We see it as a special part of ourselves which might exist beyond this life. I mean, who knows? Maybe we just come here, we have some experiences, and we die, and that's that. No consequences, no chance to do it again, just that's it. You know? Or maybe we can have many lifetimes. Or maybe we have just this one lifetime upon which we are judged and then pleasured or tortured for eternity. Who knows? All of these speculations live in a world beyond what we can prove. So nobody knows. It all just exists in our speculation, in our imagination. So, for me, I find this stuff appealing, but like I said before, only in the sense of how can it help me? How can it help me now? You know, all of these ideas are just ideas until we find out afterlife whether there is an afterlife. But what part of me is permanent? What part of you will live on? You know, what part of your dog exists after they're gone? You know? And I think it's useful to say, to assume that there is for a moment, that there is something. Where is it? Is it in our brain? Is it in our heart? For me, I'm feeling it in this area, kind of above the heart slightly, and to either side. I'm feeling myself very present in that area. Kind of, if you know me, you probably know the soul center, a place at the top of the sternum between the voice, the throat, and the heart area. It's kind of an in-between chakra area, if you like to use chakras to process your inner experiences. And there's each side, for me, maybe a few inches above the nipple area, at the top of the muscle and right underneath the collarbone. For some reason, I've been imagining the part of me that's permanent, the part of me that stays the same through all experiences, in that area. And like I said, it helps to assume there's this permanent thing beyond life that exists, whether or not there is. Maybe this is a useful fiction, but the idea of a permanent self keeps us more grounded. Maybe the idea of a self that is the same throughout life, maybe that idea helps keep us more stable in life and enjoy better lives. Whether or not it's true, maybe this feeling in here, this thought that we are maybe not entirely permanent, but more permanent than the thoughts and emotions that come by. Maybe something that lasts for months or years is more permanent and more stable and more useful than a part of us that is with us for a moment, a minute, an hour. So, I think that idea of connecting with what is more permanent matters, whether it's someone focusing on the soul because that's all that might last after the body disappears and the mind stops. You know, I can think of people doing that in order to invest in what might come after. But for me, it makes my life better right now. It makes me stronger right now. Simply to exist in the part of me that will be here the longest. Whether people say they feel it in their bones, as we know, bones, stay with us for a good while before they rejuvenate. Other parts of our body, like our stomach lining, is constantly rejuvenated. I think the whole thing rejuvenates in a matter of days. It's interesting to think of something that's not our mind lasting. Our mind, of course, changes, and the cells live and die. But our mind, physically, and of course the data inside, all of that changes. Our emotions change, our body changes throughout life. So what is stable within us, what is at least more permanent than the other things, might be a long-held, familiar good feeling. For me, feeling it to either side of my soul center, perhaps that's just an association with an older part of my brain and my data that I have kept around, that always feels good and stable. So maybe, in a magical, spiritual sense, we have that connection to the divine, to what will last after this life. Or maybe nothing will. Maybe it's just a useful idea. I like both ideas. I like the idea that if this is all we have to life, that finding a good, solid, permanent feeling place inside ourselves can make us less emotionally reactive, stronger and more focused to what we would like to experience in this rare and fleeting moment of life. And I think it crosses over very neatly with the idea that if we do have another chance after this life, that living genuinely in our most present and permanent state, well, that'll give us another chance. If there is one, if we want to be reincarnated as something dynamic and not something, low, like a dung beetle, maybe we'd like to live genuinely from our soul place. I like the idea that it's good for us whether or not there's an afterlife. That whether we're going to be judged by a God, in the Christian sense, whether we're going to be loved no matter what, and brought home to a special place regardless of what we do in life, whether we'll be reincarnated according to our choice or according to someone else's choice of karma or what have you, regardless of all of those ideas. Living genuinely from the place that feels the best, the most stable, the place that feels permanent because we haven't let it go because we really love it. It checks all the boxes. It's pleasurable now, and it makes what life we have left the best we can enjoy and imagine. And it is perhaps a ticket to a nice future after the life. Who knows? But I like the idea that what we can choose is good for now. It might just be good for later. Some of us focus entirely on now or later, but I guess I like to hedge my bets. And ultimately, it isn't bet hedging, because ultimately I know deep inside that it's all connected, and that doing what feels the very best in this moment helps us rise up and become the eternal beings that we are. As the Christians say, the children of God, the little, adolescent gods who are learning to create learning experiences that suit us, not to create destruction, not to create more than we can handle. Because that ultimately is who we are. The people in this Hindu school of thought I was reading about today, looking at that which has the experience as us, as consciousness, as Abraham Hicks would say, as the leading edge of consciousness. That's a cool idea. But there's also this idea of what we can and can't handle. What we can handle on a spiritual level, a physical or emotional level. You don't want to be bored and wallow in just kind of a lowness and depression that leads to destruction. Because we'll do destructive things just to not be bored, And not to have the overwhelm of challenging ourselves too much to where we can't handle it and we crash. There's this middle place, kind of a psychological resilience that we have. And when we choose to be in a place where we grow, but we're not forced to grow, where we can grow at our best pace, then in the long term we have the best results. I could force myself to learn a lot today, but if I did so much that I crashed emotionally, if I challenged so many limiting beliefs or fears today that the next weeks or even months I had to recuperate, not worth it. Learning less today, but being able to learn tomorrow without having to recuperate or backtrack or, deal with massive fears that come up. That's a much better way to live. We can get a lot more done day by day, learning at a good pace, and also allowing ourselves to relax and process what we've learned, instead of learning a whole ton and then having to process it before moving on. That happens sometimes. We create that sometimes in our lives. But I really find reconnecting with that permanent part of myself also keys me into a long-term learning that I'm learning over a matter of days, weeks and months and years. I'm in my second year now of traveling, of living without a physical address, making it work for myself. I'm figuring out that lifestyle and how to survive first, and then how to thrive, and then how to bring others into that thriving. And sometimes we have physical challenges, and we can key into that more permanent part of ourselves to realize that, this is a challenge. It feels um, painful sometimes to challenge ourselves through exercise or other physical challenges. Some people even play at physical challenges during intimate moments or during sex because they like those challenges. I like the physical challenge of camping. I like the physical challenge of exercising. I'm not one who goes in for intense pain, but some people like that for different reasons. But, everybody's different. I like the endurance challenges of living this lifestyle day after day and of occasionally being surprised. Last night I was surprised because I was wearing shorts and I went into an area with a lot of thorns. And, I was entering off of a road with a lot of traffic, so I wanted to move in quickly, for safety's sake, so that people didn't know I was there. If you know much about my lifestyle, I never trespass, but I still keep a very low profile so that other people don't know there's a, relatively vulnerable traveler hanging around. I keep a pretty low impact on the environment around me and a low profile so that I'm safe. And I've enjoyed a lot of safety in this lifestyle. I've had no negative interactions with other people on this trip. Camping-wise, it's always been great. And that's because, like I said, I don't draw unneeded attention to myself, and I stay safe. So yeah, I wanted to get in from the road where there was a lot of traffic, where, there's always the off chance someone might see me and decide to give me a hard time. The vast majority of people just go about their own business and don't care what other people do. But I do know that there's always a chance of a rare person wanting to mess with me, so I, do my due diligence and move quickly into my camping places so people don't know. And I was doing that, and there were a lot of thorns to the point where I just couldn't push through. I actually had to backtrack and let a few more cars pass by. Who knows if they saw me. Obviously, if they did, they didn't care because it's the next morning and no one has given me a hard time. But I guess what I'm saying is I had the surprise of pain and I tried to push through. It was too much. Didn't want to tear up my legs that much, even though they do. If you've ever seen my lower legs, they get torn up a lot from this lifestyle. But yeah, I had to backtrack, find a different path that was easier, let a few more people go by, potentially see me. I had to make those choices. And, then I found my way through some thorns that wasn't quite as painful, changed into some more suitable clothing and, hiked into my campsite. But it's really fascinating. What should I say? My lifestyle involves a little bit of pain, but it's just occasional challenges. And I like the uncertainty of my lifestyle. I like that I don't know when the next physical or emotional challenge is going to happen, or even mental challenges. Sometimes I have logistical challenges I have to figure out. I have one today. I'm going to figure out what to do with this day. I had a couple different options. I could have worked or ridden my bike today. And I've just been feeling my way into that decision, telling myself I don't have to make it right away. And I think I know what I'm going to choose. But I'm not under pressure. I'm not in a hurry. I don't have to get up and immediately make a decision. I can get up and feel just the wonderfulness of waking up slowly. I can go back to sleep for a few minutes and then wake up again. I can read. I can meditate. I can feel things. I can talk with you guys on the videos. As you know, I love these videos. They are very much my sketchbook as a thinker and a speaker, and probably as a writer. It seems very daunting to go back and like transcribe these or have them transcribed and then dig through pages. But I'm working on a process. I can't say that I've figured it all out yet, but I love finding that next step in something I know is going to work out for me. I love knowing that this is my sketchbook, that this is where I speak freely and put all of my ideas out. And maybe I'll go back and read through the whole thing and transcribe the whole thing and sort it out. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll flip through it like a sketchbook and just find an idea. As you would going through a sketchbook, finding an image that you like or a technique you tried out and say, I want to do a little more with this. Maybe that idea that I'm going to somehow transcribe it all and filter all of it down into some big production, some big book, some big, wisdom. Maybe that will or won't happen. I don't know. I could see myself getting help with that. I've had some help with transcription, and I may do some more of that. What I really need help with, to be quite honest, is the sorting out of ideas. To dig through and sort through these videos and find the 5 or 10 minutes of focused content inside an hour of rambling and tangents and all of the side thoughts that brought out that clear path. We have a clear, focused path, but we don't know it when we start. When I picked up this video, I knew I wanted to talk about self and consciousness and experience. I wanted to talk about what I'd been thinking about recently, experiencing physically in my body, and what I'd been reading. And I knew I would tie it all together in a rambling path as I come and go from that idea through tangents, because those tangents aren't a waste of time. They're essential to me figuring out the next step on the path. Imagine you're, walking through the woods, and then you take a break and you look at the map, or you get some water, or you look around you to see if you can identify a landmark so you don't get lost. If you do get lost, you backtrack to where you last were not lost, to the last landmark. It's exactly what I'm doing. I identify a direction and I say, I want to hike over there in that direction and see what I can find. And that's what I do. It's like this video series is like a sketchbook full of hikes, a sketchbook full of these little day hikes and little adventures. They don't last that long. I think the longest one might be 90 minutes or so. Right now I'm looking at about 30 minutes. But these rambles, like physical rambles, have those necessary moments of getting lost and getting found, of exerting yourself and needing a break, of wanting food and water, of looking around you to see what you can find, of being inspired by the people that you bring with you or the things you see along the way and the thoughts that are brought up by that tree or that rock or that mountain or that stream. So, yeah, I don't mean to say that the tangents are anything less than valuable. Every moment of my time is just as valuable as the others. The resting time is valuable because without it I couldn't have the cycling time, the adventure time, the talking to you time, whether focused or unfocused. I couldn't have the focused times without the unfocused times. I have to find that next thing. I have to stop off and look over an outlook and see the hills in the distance and figure out more of where I want to go. So all of it is valuable, though I do have this desire, like I've said, to present more condensed content than this to the people who listen. Those of you who are interested enough in my life to listen to these long rambling videos are dear to me and very special. In the times when I put out a lot of content and advertise it well on Facebook, I get a fair amount subscribers. I get a fair amount of views. I suppose, well-advertised video for me can get up to maybe a dozen of views. I certainly have a dozen subscribers. Not all of them watch all the videos. And of course, you get randos who don't subscribe who just watch the occasional video, so that's cool too. But I know that I can condense these ideas and this content. And what I'm really wondering about, I guess more than anything else, is with lots of money and help, using money to buy transcribing help, I can get myself into a place where I can at least look at pages of info. Skimming, a 6-page transcription is faster than, spending half an hour or more, rewatching a video just to, what should I say? Just to glean, a certain amount of content. So, transcription help, perhaps some transcription software, maybe a combination of the two. I don't know which would be more useful. I guess the idea is that if I transcribe a video and I want to go through the whole thing and sort out the ideas, pull out the main points and the actionable practice things you can do in your life, I would benefit from rehashing these fresh ideas that I have, and I would benefit from, what should I say, going through my sketchbook. Of course, not all the ideas in the sketchbook need to be brought forth. Of course, not everything, every doodle you do needs to become a masterpiece. How many thousands of doodles does someone like a Picasso do before they, turn some of them into a masterpiece? As a musician, I practiced different techniques and skills and pieces. I learned to improvise. I learned to create. And now, as a musician, I have a good sense of what I like to do, the skills I like to use, the techniques and skills that I'm not going to bother with right now. The paths I could have taken. I love Debussy. I really love La Mer for some reason. That's one of my favorite Debussy pieces. And you know what? I don't see myself ever writing the kind of music he did. I love to sing and play. I love to be a singer-songwriter. I love to write words and music to go with it. I love to play the piano as I sing. So I use the improv and compositional techniques that I like. I use the popular music techniques I've learned. And I don't know, I just love to create those kind of things. But I have lots of other skills and paths I could have gone down to expand those skills. So what I'm saying is, part of this sketchbook journey is just feeling things out. And it's learning to speak in a public forum, to speak to the curious person who may listen all the way through one of these videos. Maybe they play me in the background. Maybe you're out there, this person who's playing me in the background while you're doing something else because you love to hear me ramble through my thoughts. You love the main points as they come and go and the other little tangents. I know I love to listen. For example, I love Game of Thrones, and I listen to Ivan and Red's Boar, Gores, and Swords podcast because they will talk about the show, but they're also friends, and they'll talk about lots of other tangents, other shows, things in the entertainment world that I am or am not familiar with. And it's wonderful to see other people's experience of entertainment, It's great to, find, a podcasting team that I resonate with, and then get their take on, like I said, things I know and that I don't. Whether or not it has to do with the main theme, it really helps to have that main theme to drag us through, but it also helps to have all those tangents. Heck, even if you're writing music, you have a main musical theme, And if you have words, kind of, what should I say, philosophical or whatever kind of theme, the point you're trying to make in the song. But you also have these tangents. You also have these abstract parts of the song that don't quite make sense in a logical way. They aren't quite as obvious as the rest, but they fit in there because they do. There's a wonderful, I think it was a Paul McCartney interview where he was talking about John Lennon, talking about missing him and talking about how John was very good at these moments and lines in songs, where we don't know what they mean, but we need to leave them in because they're part of the song. They matter, but in a way that we don't understand. Subconscious, abstract things. Michael Stipe from REM could be very good with these abstractions and colors and sensory language that may not fit the exact point of the song, or may be very subjective to him. Maybe they have a meaning to him that we don't, associate with. But yeah, a lot of my favorite songwriters will have that kind of abstraction as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I love my tangents and I love my main points and I love making videos, and I still have this desire to connect more with the audience and connect more with the people who don't want to listen for long periods of time. I have been creating some shorter videos, mostly on Instagram, which I also share on Facebook and Twitter, I think. There's some connection between them all. Instagram allows me to share on multiple platforms, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, what I'm really looking at is how can I, how do you say it? How can I take the main themes of this, with maybe some of the tangents too, and condense them into useful, actionable exercises, coherent statements of theory, and important tangents that work as examples, but also provide a certain color. Like I said, I've been doing these short Instagram videos and occasionally also putting short little videos onto YouTube. I call them 60-second spandles because I see myself as the spandalganj, this wonderful word I made up long ago. I love nonsense words because they can mean things and then we can let go of the meaning and they can mean something else in another moment. We can change the meanings. They don't tie us down, in a sense. I love to use them when I'm singing along with songs and I don't know the lyrics, or when I'm inventing a song. I was songwriting yesterday, playing the piano at this lovely outdoor piano in Macon. And what did I do? I got to a point where I was really into the music and I was singing a melody. I was into the notes of the melody and figuring that feel out, but I didn't know what words to do. I've actually written quite a lot of words to that song, and the words are mostly done, but I just said, meh, no, not gonna happen. And I just sang a bunch of spandals, a bunch of nonsense words for a while until I got to the next chorus or whenever I knew what the words were. So it's really useful to have those vagaries. Wow, the second part of this video is much more about the value of tangents than it is about the original theme. That's special. Maybe I'll tie them together, maybe I won't. I don't know. But regardless, I feel an urge to keep talking and exploring, but also to wrap up. It's funny, when I give myself enough time, however long this video is going to be, if it needs to be an hour and a half or more, so be it. But I give myself all the time that I need to explore by talking. I always explore by performing and talking to people. That's very much my way. I think I'm a lot more focused when I'm communicating than when I'm just thinking in my mind. Writing helps focus me. I've gotten pretty good at songwriting. And I write for hire, of course, to support this travel lifestyle. But writing for myself, writing words, is still something I'm working on how I can take my rambles and my sketchbooks, take my favorite bits out of them, and then turn them into, articles. I think the blog article format is great for me in that 3 to 1,000 word range. I think is really healthy for me right now as I explore what works best for me writing-wise. I'm certainly going to start articles that I'll never finish. I'm an explorer. That's who I am. And to be an explorer, you take adventures. You start things you won't finish. You try things and you fail. Sometimes you try them again, sometimes you try something else. That's me. I'm going to leave behind a legacy of aborted attempts and a few that I didn't, a few that I continued and made something big out of. But lots and lots of failures and things that I tried and stopped, It goes against a lot of what I've been taught and a lot of what many people in the world value of persistence. Persisting at something even if you don't love it. A lot of people do that. That's not for me. And I hope it's not for you. Anyway, I'm loving my tangents, The theme of this second half of the video is definitely about the value of that. And I guess I'm just getting more used to the idea of these videos as a public sketchbook that someone who's really interested can listen to all of this stuff. Like I said, maybe play it in the background of what you're doing or whatever else. But for me, the fact that someone might listen helps me focus in a certain way. It makes me want to be more genuine. I focus and I do try to wrap up the videos and offer actionable things and blah, blah, blah. But at the same point, I also ramble and be myself and let myself go where I will and never try to impress you, the listener, with being cooler or more focused or whatever than I am, because I know that I can't be any more valuable than I am by trying. My intrinsic value doesn't change. I can learn how to express it better. I can keep writing in the sketchbook, speaking to you, and like I said, maybe finding some ideas, some structures where I can work from this into a more condensed format, and then work from that condensed format into a more condensed format and give people actionable gems of information. Because as a marketer, I know that that's what sells. That's what engages with people. Something that's very short, very easy to get into, just free little snippets of content. And so, like I said, my 60-second spandles, which is when I remember to put the Instagram videos on YouTube, those are special. And maybe I'll do one after this as kind of a recap or a little teaser. Maybe I can even develop the social media savvy to link from there to these larger videos. I bet I could figure out the social media angle of it. It also requires me to stay coherent and remember which one goes with which and get it all connected, and get this big video uploaded in time that I can still connect it to the little one. So, I'm thinking about some techniques with that. Maybe instead of recording directly to Instagram, record a less than 1 minute video as a 60-second spandle, as a recap video, but not, what should I say? but not directly to Instagram, so that I can wait until the big video is up and has a link, and then I can bring it down. There we go. You see, guys, I think by talking, I lose my focus if I'm not talking. And I am very impulsive. Like I said, I'm an adventurer. If I'm going to go on a hike, like our metaphorical hike earlier in this video, well, it helps to have a direction. It helps to say, I'm going to go over that hill, or I'm going to go follow the stream, or whatever. It helps to have that just so you don't get lost. It helps to have a direction. I'm going to look on my compass and head south. You know, see what is south of here. Whatever it is, it helps to have a general direction. And so when I say focus, I don't want to be 100% focused. I want to have all my tangents, all the enjoyments along the way, all the color of the experience, but also that direction that keeps it all flowing in a direction so I don't get lost. So I don't have a thought and then just go about my day, you know? I think that's really what it is, because I think a lot as I'm packing up my bags to go into town, or as I'm sitting at the laundromat or the cafe, as I'm doing my work. I have all of these thoughts, and I do the work that I'm doing with you now. But it helps, I guess, to take the time to talk, almost as like a dedicated, not a meditation, but a time for thinking and a time for this kind of processing. I don't know. It's an interesting practice. So, like I said, I'm going to see what I can do, making recap videos using those 2 T's, larger videos. Some of you may, watch one after another of these short videos just to get the content in the wrap-ups. And if you really like one of those, you may pop into a larger video. I'm going to try that. I'm going to record, but not directly to Instagram, so I can link the little ones to these big videos and just see what's happening. Just see how that works. I'd still like to find a middle step where I can take all the actionable content, all the thematic content and a few tangents from these large videos, and turn them into written pieces, turn them into, the bones and the organs of, an article that needs to be fleshed out. Because, I skip around as I talk on these videos. There's things I need to explain more or less. Maybe I explain the same thing 3 times and I can cut that out, So yeah, editing them to what is really good and then adding to them, I think, could create some really interesting articles. And who knows, maybe even larger formats, article series, not books yet, but that kind of stuff. But I feel like that's not going to happen all at once. I feel like I still have other things to discover, ways to make this work for myself, where, what can I say? Structures, procedures, techniques. Just like in songwriting, I've learned how to songwrite in my way. I learned the amount of structure, improv, repetition, working away from the keyboard, working at the keyboard, working on lyrics, singing melodies. I've learned the right blend of those different things that go into songwriting that work for me. And I guess in writing down ideas, I'm still in the talking phase because there's more techniques to learn, more tricks and techniques that work for me, maybe not for everybody, but the ones that'll help a talky person like me convert to writing and get the love of talking and expressing ideas and the love of writing about things I care about connected, not to get caught in a slog of digging through transcriptions and editing. Editing with love, digging through transcriptions with love. There's ways to do that I don't even know exist yet. There's techniques and stuff I just don't know about. I'll figure it out over time, and I look forward to that. But heck, I came up with a new idea for the 60 seconds battles, so that's a step in the right direction. Like I said, to wrap things up, there is that permanent part of us that may exist beyond life. There's certainly parts of us that stay with us through our whole lifetimes, who we were as children and who we'll be as old people. And there's other things that are only with us for a year or a minute. And I guess I'm feeling some of that today. I'm feeling this desire to take my love of talking with you guys and, well, to you guys, talking at you guys. You guys don't really get to talk back until you comment on the videos. But that's what I'm looking at, is how do I find ways to connect this love with the love I have of writing. I really do love writing about things I care about. If I find a cafe that I love, I can write about that, or if I write about some of the ideas I have in these videos, I can occasionally become very turned on physically, not sexually. The place I feel it in my body is higher than the sex organs. Maybe in a space around the second and third chakras, if you know what I mean. At least the higher end of the creative chakra, we should say. The part that tends more towards confidence and creativity than sexual creativity. But there's certainly a sensual pleasure to writing and knowing I'm in the zone, to knowing I'm writing something that I really care about and love, that is similar to creating songs. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to become the creative writer that I'm becoming. I certainly have a lot of writing chops, just from having written for a living for the last 2.5 years. But I always thought it was something I would just do for money. Maybe it would help me present my spiritual ideas further down the road. But I didn't know maybe that it would be a creative thing. The funny thing is, it's really creative nonfiction, because spirituality rides that line between what's imaginary and fictional and what is provable, replicated experiences in the world. So yeah, for me, I guess, it's funny. Yeah, I guess I'm so close to the end of this video, but there's something I'm trying to get out. I'm a little tired of talking, and there's a part of me that says, no, just a little more. You're getting to the thing. You're getting to something valuable. That's why I love this process, because I have an intuition for things I'm trying to get out, things that I want to wrap words around. And knowing when I've said enough, or when I have almost said enough. But yeah, I guess I'm learning to see writing as a creative act, even when I'm writing about life, philosophy, spirituality, as both a fictional and a non-fictional exercise. I guess I always saw creative writing as fiction writing, or poetry, and then non-fiction writing as stuff you do to make money. Share your stories of your travels, or write a National Geographic article, or whatever you do. Explain how to use a certain software platform, or whatever stupid thing you're doing. It's just funny. I guess I have a patience with myself that comes from a presence that is permanent, or at least feels permanent. The part of myself that is myself throughout my whole life, and perhaps beyond. Oh, that was a funny face. I'm holding in a yawn, but anyway, don't know why I need to hold it in. It's good to release with yawns, but I just have a feeling there's a little more to say, and I don't know what it is, and I want to get up and live my day, but something's holding me here, and I value that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have a patience with myself and my own growth that comes with this permanent feeling part of myself. And almost that's an edge, that's a place where I need to work for a while. Of being patient with myself, of identifying this new video technique, social media idea that I had, but not all the techniques that I will eventually adopt as I learn how to convert spoken sketchbooks into written content, and perhaps even video content, perhaps even scripted video content, who knows, that I will someday, like I have a feeling of who I'm going to be someday as this teacher of philosophy, spirituality, intimacy, sexuality, learning and helping other people learn how to poke a hole in the universe with the power of people, when people come together. There's a funny quote from the Bible that says, whenever two or more of you meet in my name, I am there. There's something like that. It's the idea that, yes, people, having faith in God is one thing, but people coming together out of faith in God as more than one is some other special kind of thing. And I'm not much of a believer in God, the Christian God, but, there's a few things in the Bible I find useful. I just find, how do I say it? There's something really remarkable when people come together. And that is part of the reason I'm doing this as a video and not an audio recording. It's part of the reason I'm putting it out there to you, so I know someone might be listening. There's something about when we, the different, whatever we are, clumps of the divine, actors and thinkers in this world, when we come together, we can, and I've done it a few times, really cross that boundary from the, what do you call it? Cross that liminal boundary from the real to the unreal, and see that maybe what we thought was real is unreal, and we thought was unreal is real. But definitely, how do I wrap words around this stuff? It's so hard, but I love doing it, and I know there's a little piece I want to get out. But it's about that patience. It's about knowing that knowing that this is a part of our journey, knowing that it's an edge, knowing that it's a place where we can do our best work is at our edge. If we go beyond it, we get overwhelmed or injured. If we aren't at our edge, we're fearful and depressed and bored. And there's right at that place where we can do our best work. They talk about in yoga of stretching into a pose as far as you can until you find that edge where you're doing the most best work. You're stretching the most you can without hurting yourself. You're stretching emotionally, experiencing the emotions that come up without getting overwhelmed. You're right at that best place, the right amount of challenge. And I think that's connected to this whole idea that I've been putting forth of a permanent part of ourselves, of a unchanging presence in ourselves. That's very valuable. It's a very valuable place to be because maybe it helps us find our edge. Maybe it helps us be patient with ourselves as we, fluctuate emotionally and our thoughts flit around, and as experiences surprise us in the world, and as we create intentional experiences in the world. And yeah, I think there's an enduring patience for all of that. Maybe it's how parents feel towards a child that might be doing one thing one moment and another thing the other moment. Or how meditators look at the mind flitting around from one thought to the other, but they know that this too shall pass. I think that's where I can leave it. I do want to say that I love you all very much, and I'm very grateful to all of you who let me know you're listening through comments, through subscriptions, whatever you do. Just by viewing it, I can go in and look at the stats and see somebody viewed the video, and it helps me. It helps me feel that someone is listening. It's different than just doing it on my own, I could create all this stuff, video or audio, and then just play it back to myself and never put it out there. I could write it down. Maybe someday I could use all that to create some great work of art or literature and put it out there. Or just keep it to myself forever. But I really like the idea that there's someone else out there. So I'm very grateful to all of you who let me feel heard. And that's very special. So, if you've listened this far, you're probably going to listen to the end. So I guess I can say that you can visit me at joeneely.net, and you can check me out on lots of different social media sites, either as Joe Neely or Spandalganch or whatever. You can find me. It's not that hard. I've said on the website that I'm looking to do sessions with people, not talking at you like this, for God's sake, no, but being with you sessions. I've said that I'll give people a free 10-minute session on the website, just because I want to practice being with people. Maybe speaking a little bit at the beginning of the video, but then taking people into a short one-on-one meditative place, an eye contact meditation kind of place. As some of you know, I've had an opportunity to teach it, to learn it and to teach it in the last month or so. And that's what I'm grateful for. This month has been a raging success just for that reason, just because I've found someone who was able to teach me a little more and to let me know that this is a thing that can be learned and taught. And then really getting into spiritual communities, into finding a way to teach what I know and to learn. When I presented this eye contact meditation, being with somebody as a technique, what happened? I met someone who had done it before, who had experienced other people teaching it and gave me some ideas. So it's all very special stuff. But yeah, I think the next step is to record that 60-second spandal as a wrap-up of this video and a teaser for it, and then connect. One practice I'm learning to put into my day is social media connections and messaging and staying in contact with people in the various towns I visit and the various spiritual and secular communities I, bump into, create. So, yeah, I think I'll do that. And then I'll go have my day. Thank you for being with me, getting a little slice of Joe Neely in your life. And like I said, for those of you who just play this stuff in the background, it's really valuable to know that I'm being heard and that I'm playing in the background of your life. That's pretty cool. So have a wonderful day.